And as you're getting ready for the fall season, take note from Booker, his dad, and try a nice ham alongside a glass of Booker's bourbon. You won't regret it.
If he would have put cheese on that,
Parmesan cheese, nonetheless.
That would have been the man's life would have changed.
But that's
you know how I like country ham.
Yeah,
with
but
grits.
that's it's kind of cool because it's a note
Biscuit's
from.
not bad either.
All right, are you even listening? For God's sakes, why am I here?
Because you brought up country ham.
Seriously.
Okay, did you really expect
Where's
us
your
to stay
sister,
on track?
man? We need her to call in. I want a lifeline.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Bourbon Boys, the podcast where guys get together to talk about bourbon, about life, lore, and libation, and everything that comes with being a dad. We aren't bourbon snobs, just a group of guys who like bourbon for what it is. It's pretty simple. This is podcast number 19. I'm Derek, your host, and with me are my Bourbon Boys. I've got Alton.
Hello, hello.
Kurt.
Hey there.
And Krat.
Happy Friday.
Here we go. We are recording on a Friday. It's nice.
Yes.
Just don't ask
Real
Craig
nice.
what number we're on.
We're up. This is episode 20.
It's close. It's almost.
It's close.
Leading up to
And
it.
you're still wrong.
20. So tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about a family tree and the lineage of the Jim Beam family and where it started. And we're going to take you all up to present day with some pretty high end bourbon.
Yeah.
You know, some
I'd say.
good taste here. So we've got 6 bottles in front of us. We're not going to get through 6. But we're going to try to
It
get
is
as close
Friday.
as we can.
We're not quitters.
Happy Friday.
We've got Old Tub, which is the original name of the bourbon that was distilled by the original Beams. We have Jim Beam Black Extra Aged. So it's a step up from the white label. We have a Knob Creek 9-year. We have Basil Hayden. And we have a Booker's. We have 2 Bookers. So, it was interesting learning about the Jim Beam family. You know, they've been around for 225 years, which is pretty remarkable. 7 generations of family members have been at the helm and have kept the original idea alive. And you looked it up how to pronounce it. It wasn't Beam. It was
Boehm.
Boehm. And which a few years later they changed the name. So a family from Germany moved over in 1740. 48 years later, they were encouraged by the government incentives to move to Kentucky to grow corn. They made their own, whiskey back in Germany, and so they continued to do it over here. And they used the excess corn to make American whiskey. The first barrel was sour mash, and it was sold in 1795 under the name Old Jake Beam, and that ended up becoming what we're trying right now, which is Old Tub. How does it taste?
It's actually not
Old
bad.
Tub?
This first one.
It's actually not
All
bad.
It's not bad at all.
It's not bad, no. And you said this was $22.
Yeah, this is $22.
That's
so,
what kills. I mean, that's what kills me, right?
Well, Jim Beam White label is like $16.
Yeah.
It's like an under 20, and it is the world's leading selling bourbon. Just global expansion. It's kind of crazy.
But is that because of price or because of taste?
It's actually because of in the history of how this took off. There's a section of history. They have remarkable history.
Yeah, they do.
Which obviously goes back to the 1740 time frame. But it became global expansion when the distillery started sending cases over to troops who remained stationed overseas after World War II to thank them for their service. They sent them cases of bourbon. And so Jim Beam was making its way into other global markets just because the servicemen appreciated it and were drinking it.
Yeah. Building a ton of loyalty, too.
Yeah. But so this one, this Old Tub was thrown around. They dusted off the mash bill and kind of matched it to what they thought it would be. What was interesting is in the 1800s, when rail and steamboats were kind of a big deal, they would the distribution took off. So they moved the distillery closer to rail lines so they could get better distribution. And in their time when they were shipping the sour mash down the river to New Orleans, they would put them in barrels, right? So, but these barrels were reused from fish and vinegar. And so by the time it got down there, they're like, this is terrible. Like, this tastes pretty awful. So they figured that they would give it a shot and burn the taste out of the barrels. They burned out all the fish and vinegar, which led to a charred barrel.
There you go.
And then when they put the sour mash in there, they got a whole different flavor profile.
Yeah.
And that's where bourbon really took off. And I didn't know this. Maybe you guys have heard this, but they said, folks started asking for it by the county name. And they said, send us more of that old Bourbon County whiskey. I didn't realize Bourbon was a county name.
Interesting.
Yeah. I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So let's give Old Tub a shot.
Yeah.
I feel like it's got a really light palate to it. It's not, I don't feel like it's not this really super strong, not a lot of alcohol taste to it for me.
Okay. And if it's...
I love it when he says it. He's
Okay.
like, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. And taste what you want.
I'm not sure.
You're allowed to.
Exactly.
You're allowed to have your opinions.
What's the proof on it? Can you see
No, jeez. Can I see?
like 80 something?
100.
Straight up.
100 proof.
No
All
way.
right.
This does not taste like 100 proof.
No?
Would you like to read the label?
No, it's not that I doubt you, Dave, which I
Well.
usually do, but I'm just saying the way that it tastes is
Boy, that's
what I'm
refreshing.
trying to say. Well, wouldn't you agree? Does this taste like 100 proof
No, it
bourbon?
does
Bottled and bond, yeah.
It does not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do agree with you, Kurt. There's not a complex kind of
No,
flavor to it.
it's good.
But it's not bad.
It's
I mean,
good, yeah.
Yeah. It's got a total like butterscotch finish. You guys get that too?
A little
I'm
bit.
going to try it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
sure.
little maple. A little maple.
Yeah, maybe some Parmesan.
Okay.
A little Parmesan. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I think you're right. It does have a little buttery finish. But as a bottled and bond 100 proof, it doesn't feel that
It's pretty
strong.
smooth.
No.
Yeah.
$22. That's a.
Yeah.
So did you say this is a limited edition then?
Yeah, the label on the front said it's a
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be $21.
special extra label.
Special extra label.
That might be a good one for old fashions or
I think it could be.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
got a very classic bottle, too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty straightforward all around.
it
Now
looks
they
like
had so it's unfiltered. It just comes as is. It's not going through any charcoal filter, no
Right.
no chill filter, nothing. This brand name, in reading through their history, they lost the name Old Tub going into Prohibition. Like they just had to sell everything. They're like we're done. So they sold the name. Beam lost the name, and then just recently, or I guess recently in their 225 year history, picked it back up. So this is actually produced by Jim Beam, but it was a name that they had lost.
Interesting.
Yep. When the Civil War broke out, bourbon was taking off. It's been said that Lincoln asked, what Ulysses Grant's favorite drink was, and it was bourbon. So Lincoln said, send a case to all of my other generals, because if it's working for him, I want everyone to behave the same way.
Huh.
So Old Tub lasted for a while as they came into the Prohibition years. They've had at that point probably four or five different master distillers and family members running the show. They shut down for 13 years. Distillery shut down. They didn't get the special provision to do it. And then when Prohibition was repealed, Jim Beam, for whom the distillery is now named, was 70 years old at that time, coming out of Prohibition.
Wow.
He had tried a few different things to get by for those 13 years. None of them worked. And in 120 days, they built a distillery.
Wow.
Rebuilt the whole thing. and then 2 years later released the first post-prohibition bourbon under the name Colonel James B. Beam Bourbon, and that replaced Old Tub. So the Jim
120
Beam White
days.
Label, 120
That's
days.
That's pretty impressive.
So that was what their campaign was anchored on. Their ad campaign, the last 6 months or so, right?
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, where they're showing the town, and I think it was Beam, where it's like he was so loyal to the brand that while they were rebuilding the distillery, he didn't have anybody else's bourbon, and talked about the town showed up to rebuild with him.
That's really cool.
I haven't seen that.
Yep.
Haven't seen it.
One of the traditions of the family is Beam used to take home a jug of the yeast strain every weekend to protect it.
Just in case.
Just in case. And to this day, his great-great-grandson does the same thing.
Wow.
Every
that's cool.
weekend, takes home a jug of the yeast strain. And the yeast strain that
Just
they
in
use
case.
is the same yeast strain that
Wow.
they've been using for generations.
Wow.
That's crazy.
amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
So there you go.
Yep.
We'll try the black
Yeah.
So when did they change their name?
from
Because it was Boehm. They came over as a German family
Yep.
with Boehm, and
48 years later.
they changed their
changed
name
it.
to Beam.
Yep.
Okay. Who'd have thunk?
Yep.
So-
They've had quite a few family members take over the leadership position and add their spin to it.
Well, they all kind of played a different role, right? Like one, I'm trying to think of, one of them was responsible for like the national distribution, like where you were talking about how they moved from, they moved down by
They moved to the railroad,
to the railroad, right?
yards. Yep.
And so one guy was really known for like getting them to national distribution.
Yep.
One was getting them to like the production. One was, it is
Yeah.
a pretty cool history if you.
Yep. I'd like to see their facility and just try it all out.
Yeah, tried that, but they were closed.
Oh yes, that's right.
So they were shut down, not just sold out. They
I
were-
think Jim Beam was shut down, yeah. So, at least to public visits of any sort. I mean, I'm going to guess that the distillery was still working. So what do we?
So right now we're trying the Jim Beam Black Extra Aged, and I believe this is an 8-year. So typical Jim Beam is a 4-year.
Okay.
Interestingly, every Jim Beam product that I look up has exactly the same mash bill.
Yeah.
So
It's the same for
I need to-
Bookers and
yeah.
Bakers, and they're all.
I feel like I need to check that out and see if that's just an error or if they're like, nope, that's our signature mash bill. So the mash bill is, just pull it up here. They're all 75% corn, so high on the corn, 13% rye,
Right.
and 12% malted barley.
Yep. All right.
And this Jim Beam Black is, I think that this is 8 years. I could be wrong. I'm saying this on the bottle. I think it's an 8-year.
I couldn't find it on the bottle.
Extra age. Straight up Jim Beam, I think, is 4 years. It's an 86 proof.
The bottle said 100, I think.
That was the last bottle.
That was the old tub.
Yeah, 86.
86 in this
I'm
one?
going
Okay.
blind.
Either that or your memories. You're losing your memory.
No, I really
One
am
of the
going
two.
blind. I see it now. Wow. Long week.
Got a little cinnamon.
Smell cherry.
Yep, they said that on the nose you're going to get some cinnamon. That most of their bodies for taste is going to be caramel, vanilla, and a little bit of charcoal. So you can get a little bit of beyond the smoky oak. I think you get into that charcoal.
Yeah, there's definitely smoky.
Yep. So this was double barrel time, 8 years, and this too was like a $22 bottle of bourbon. So it's an 8-year, essentially, 8-year bourbon for $22.
This one falls a little flat for me.
Is You think so?
I hate to say it, but I gotta agree
agree?
with Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just something like
You can change your mind. Have another sip.
No, I mean, I was listening to you guys, and I didn't say anything because I'm kind of like not really doing it for me, and yeah, I don't know. I actually I like the Old Tub better than this one.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's like there's a little bit of a fruity taste on the front end, and then on the finish, I get a little bit of spice, but not much.
Yeah.
But in the middle,
Yeah.
there's nothing.
What I will give it is the finish lingers for me. It did for me anyway. Like it sat pretty.
I get
long.
a little bit. It just feels a little flat.
Yeah. I have to concur.
Well, don't say it like it's a bad thing.
Well, I'm always disappointed when I don't get excited about bourbon. No.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay to not get excited about every one of them. I mean, the Old Tub. Here's
I
the
want
thing.
about 1,000, big boy.
I mean, the Old Tub for me could get me in a lot of trouble just because I found that just to be so easy to drink. I think I would just probably drink it too fast and too much of it, and all of a sudden it would like hit me, and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to be in trouble tonight.
Yeah.
You'll wake up in the tub.
You're gonna do it.
Exactly. I'm going to pass out again, and my wife's going to
do
go
a header
crazy.
on the vanity.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, I found the greatest T-shirt on my vacation. Scars are tattoos. They just come with better stories.
I've seen that
Oh,
before.
there you
That's
go.
cool. I like that. Did
Yeah.
you buy it?
I didn't. It was.
You got a bandana, though.
Yeah. No.
Did he get the license plate?
No, just the graphics weren't the right kind of graphics
okay.
for me. They had like skulls and stuff like that on them, so it just wasn't my style. But I thought the saying was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So
Yeah. So, we were surprised this was 100. The Old Tub was 100 proof.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not surprising this is only 86.
No.
It's pretty
I would
light.
actually have expected it to be opposite based on the taste.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think to me the one is the Black Label. you said?
Yeah.
had a little more kick to it than the Old Tub.
Oh, wow.
From a spice standpoint, for me anyway.
Yeah, it just feels, I don't know.
Yeah.
I imagine this is a lot like what bourbon tastes like, Kurt, when you drink it with all that ice.
Yeah. I promise not to drop any F-bombs tonight. So interesting though, did you know that your tongue actually tastes three different things? Like there's three different senses to the tongue. Do you know that?
No, say more.
Tell us
So the tip of the tongue actually senses sweetness, and the middle of the tongue actually senses salt, like the salty taste, and the back of the tongue tastes the bitters. So like if you think about like how, like if you think about when you initially taste something,
Yep.
you get that hits of the sweetness, and then it eventually, like think about the finish, right, where you feel more of that like spice taste and so forth is like towards the end.
The back.
So just I thought that was interesting. I learned that in my research this week.
Nice.
So when you taste, we should let it wash over our whole tongue.
I
Shit around.
You can put it wherever you want on your tongue. I don't care.
Let's make sure we edit that out.
Cut.
What he meant to say was,
Yeah. What I meant to say.
Yeah, I'm not liking the black. Sorry.
that's all right. And I think the white
That's all
label
No, it's okay.
Okay. That's all right. Okay.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
We're plowing
So
through.
dismissive.
Oh, there's Alton trying to smooth the waters.
I didn't get the white label. I don't own the white label, but it was like it just felt very common. Like
Cheap.
it just felt like it was. Yeah, it just felt like it was going to be a
Yeah.
cheap bourbon, but
Yeah.
And it's
It's
what?
working
It's
for that.
$20 a bottle.
under 20 was the white label.
It's
full
16,
size
but
was
then
like
it's
16 and change.
But then it's $4 for the Coke that goes with it.
Yeah.
there you go.
So it gets you to 20.
So is there a
Dave, you
is
might
there
be
a Jim
offending
Beam?
somebody.
Is there like a
Wouldn't be
higher
the
dollar
first time.
Jim Beam under the Jim Beam label? I mean, I would have thought black extra age would have been it, but it's only what did you say, $22 or $20?
Yeah, the there might be. I didn't notice if there was. The current distiller, the current master distiller is Fred Booker
No.
Noe, the second, right?
I think it's the third, actually.
He's the third now. Yeah, it could be. He's the one that really got into innovation. So he did like the apple flavored Jim Beam,
Yep.
the honey Jim
Honey,
Beam,
yep.
the red stag, which is a black cherry bourbon. He's done this black label. He did Devil's Cut. And then he introduced the whole small batch collection. So all like the Knob Creek, Booker's, Baker's, Basil Hayden, those are
Right.
all. So the Booker's is named after, I believe, his father.
Interesting. But they don't really extend the brand of Beam.
No,
very
they just
far.
I was gonna say they use the crafts
Yeah.
outlet. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, like, you look at Wild Turkey and even Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels, yeah.
You know, they kind of take it farther
Yeah.
on up
Yeah.
the spectrum
Gentleman
versus
Jack.
versus coming in with a whole different
Yep.
branding. But
Yeah.
interesting.
And I read in that bourbon magazine we were passing around that Baker's was introduced, and it was in recognition of Booker's cousin, who left the family with I believe with his wife to join another bourbon family. And so while they're not Beams directly, his son married into the Beam family during Prohibition.
Gotcha.
So coming out of Prohibition, they worked with the family, and then the original Frederick Booker, he became a master distiller.
Gotcha.
Under Beam.
I would imagine that whole industry back in that day was pretty daggum incestuous.
Yep.
With different families.
Yep.
And all
So,
that
so the question is now, if you're part of the lineage of the Beam family, you obviously have access at Christmas parties. Do you drink anything besides this? I mean, what happens
Don't
if
be
you
the guy that
show-
brings the Coke.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. They drink Miller Lite.
Yeah.
We're not talking about bourbon.
It's a good question. I mean, you could talk about the Russells the same way, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, I'm betting they're drinking their own brown water for sure.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. All right, should we step it up a notch? And
Yeah.
you want to work up? Is that what you're looking to
next
do?
step up it would be, and I would say we can go the Knob Creek 9-year. I've got the Knob Creek straight upstairs, but the 9-year, I was like, that's
The 9
a
years
pretty
good.
good taste.
Yeah, it's a good one.
You keep it upstairs?
Yeah, you gotta check it out. The new bourbon wall.
Oh.
That's right.
I'll have to oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
'cause
saw
the,
that.
the cabinet is empty.
It's the Rick Room.
I like it.
Probably thought the cabinet was going to fall in all that bourbon way.
That's what happens when you-
The glass doesn't like dip anymore. It's just
I know.
it's like all back to. Although I
I
will
showed
say,
Nellie the picture, and I'm like, yeah, he never actually finishes a bottle.
No.
I don't know how he does it.
He's like the turtle. Slow and steady.
He's like, you don't have that much. My throughput's a lot higher.
This one's I forget when I picked this one up, but this was in the like that $45, $40 to $45 range. Again, if online is correct, the mash bill is 75, 13, 12. This is a 120 proof, 9-year, small batch, single barrel. So of the Knob Creeks, this is probably in the top end of that. Single barrel, reserve, 9-year,
Now we're
120
talking.
proof.
Now we're talking.
Now it's your game.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I-
What's your taste?
what's your nose?
Yeah,
First,
what do you got?
let's start there. The aroma.
I definitely get a lot more alcohol in the.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
You get some oak. I get a little woodsy out of that.
Yep. I'm not getting like custard or caramel.
No, I mean, it's not black licorice, but I'm getting a little bit of that,
I could,
Wendy's.
on the nose a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, with the flavor.
It's got a good color too. I mean, it is. It's pretty dark.
It is, and I've had this one before in my own cabinet. I actually really enjoy this.
Great finish.
This is one of those. So you guys know Kristen Peak. I stopped over at their place, and she's like, "My brother gave this to us. We'll never drink it. Do you want it?"
Yes.
I'm like,
Yep.
Yes.
Thank
What is
you.
it?
Yep.
I'm like,
Is
what do
it
you want?
bourbon?
What do you want for it? And she's like, you can have it. I'm like, seriously? I'm like, you realize this is an expensive bottle of bourbon.
It's nice.
She's like, I don't care. I didn't pay for it. So
Thank you, Kristen Peak's brother.
yeah, something like that. So
Yeah, earthy.
it's good.
It's very good.
It's very warm. Like I love.
I was
the
gonna say,
I love the
yeah,
finish of
yeah.
this one.
It's
I really
in-
do.
Derek, you're talking about the color. I mean, it's definitely
Yeah.
darker and it tastes darker.
Yeah. Does it taste thicker?
Yeah, it's just got a little like I don't know if that's the earthy kind of
Yeah.
taste to it, but
Yeah. still don't have much on the nose. I don't know if I'm just like if my nose is fried or what, but
It's okay, Derek.
120 proof is pretty hot. So
it is. I think I can't get past that.
It's okay.
But the taste is really good.
The taste is really
like
good.
this is a good warm, sipping, warm your chest.
this warms you up, inside out. So
This
this could
is
be
good.
dangerous.
Yeah. It's a good one. I
I like
really
this a lot.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
What are you getting for taste out?
let me have more. Yeah. Wait here.
He's like, wait, the first 5 tastes I didn't taste anything.
There's a lot of flavor. It's hard to kind of hard to nail it down, but
It's a little oily, but I'm going to say, I hate to default to it, but I think I get a lot of caramel
that's
out
what
of
I'm
this.
getting to.
Yeah.
But I'm the roof of my mouth is like, this is nice.
I don't know if I'm getting a citrus or a clove or something. I'm trying to nail it down.
Yeah.
It's not like the sweet vanilla butterscotch butter. Not in that space.
I could lean into the clove with you, though.
It's got a little bit more of the spice to it. I'm definitely getting more of the wood.
Yeah.
I think you called that one. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
that's
Like
more
the
of
char,
it.
almost the char from the barrel.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a good one. I mean, this is...
It's a whole mouth. Like
It really
like
is.
It's the
Yeah.
sides of your mouth.
It really
the whole
is.
thing.
It really is. From the moment you taste it to the finish to this is a good one.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Like I used to see Knob Creek on the shelf, and I thought of it like a Jim Beam almost. Like it's like it's Knob Creek. And then I tried it when I got it from Kristen and Bob that time. I was like, holy crap, this is really good.
Almost the same thing that it just felt like because you saw it a lot.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's the Miller Lite of bourbon.
exactly.
It's just so common. It's so But they do a good job.
It's
with it.
really good. It's really
I would say
good.
the same thing about Wild Turkey, and we'll talk about that in a different episode.
Yeah.
But I just maybe hearing Jim Beam and Wild Turkey so much, you just thought like, oh, that's just everyone's bourbon. It's nothing special.
Well, that's interesting though, because Wild Turkey they have a challenge from a brand standpoint because Wild Turkey has a reputation for being like a commoner's bourbon, and they have done a good job at it. They had to really shift that, where it's not your everyday drinker's bourbon anymore.
Yep.
So
I mean, they've definitely extended the brand. I mean, Rare
for sure.
Breed is one of my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah. No, this is good.
Yep.
I think they did a good job with this one.
yeah,
I agree.
So these all came after the dip in the 60s and 70s and 80s when bourbon was just not a thing. Like, late 60s, early 70s, people were switching flavor profiles, getting into the more clear liquids, clear spirits. And these guys struggled. So in the 80s, they started to produce these different brands. And then in the 90s, they started to do more of that experimentation and innovation.
So you mentioned earlier something about the collection. Is this because I thought I read something about? Is it called the Jim Beam Collection, where these brands came to be?
Yeah, it's called a small batch
collection. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And so they realized, like, well, with the same flavor profile and perhaps different barrels, maybe different sources of corn. I mean, even with that same flavor profile, we're not tasting the same bourbons.
Right.
So some of these have been cut. Some are straight from the barrel. Some have sat in the barrel for 9 years, 8 years, 4 years. They're coming at different strengths. It's interesting that even with the same ingredients, you could have such different tastes.
Yep.
That to me is remarkable. Like the chemistry behind it is like that's just so fucking cool.
So is the mash bill on the Knob Creek? Is it the same?
All the same.
They're all the same. Okay.
So when did this collection come to being? I mean, like, are we talking like 1990s?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
In the 90s, they started to experiment with some of these, different ideas. And the naming of it, I didn't get around to get the name of the Basil Hayden, tracing it back, other than it's named after a person that was part of the family and it was a connection to the distillery. And I apologize for not having done all my work on that one, but in 92, the releases of Basil Hayden Baker's Knob Creek hit the scene, and then the idea of the collection started to take off at that point. And then Knob Creek became the world's top-selling premium bourbon.
Yeah.
The 9 year.
No,
Just in general.
Oh, just in
Knob
general.
Creek brand. Yeah.
Because Booker's was probably one of the first of what then became the collection. Because Booker's officially kind of came out in 1988.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and you think about it, back then, it just wasn't on people's radars.
No.
They were in wine coolers and Zima.
yeah, and
Right?
white, and it was white. It was
Yeah.
it was
Bartles and James
it
Dean,
was
yeah.
Right.
and it was white alcohol. It
was.
the
It was the clears.
vodkas and the
And gin.
tequilas
The
and
gins,
gin.
yeah.
Yep,
rum.
exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Huge flavors back then, and then the latest distiller for Jim Beam started to experiment with more of that. Like there was a tradition of let's keep to the bourbon, straight bourbon, and then let's start introducing people to bourbon through apple, through honey, through the cherry and cinnamon and other flavors.
So, I mean, I think here's what's really interesting about this, and we've talked about this before, and I can't remember which one it was that we were drinking at the time when we did, but Beam Suntory owns them now. So there's a huge amount of history in this family, but they're actually owned by a Japanese company.
Okay. That's interesting.
And
When did that happen?
That was probably back in, I'm going to say I'll have to look it back up, but it was like 2012, maybe 2013, maybe somewhere in there.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to say that that's the right date, but yeah, they were bought by Beams. Well, they were bought by Suntory, and they're not called Beam Suntory. So, so yeah, they're owned by this company out of Japan, which is pretty incredible. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they continue to evolve. I mean, certainly when you go to their website, it's all Jim Beam. Like it's a whole story about
Yeah,
Jim Beam. It's
yeah.
a whole story
It's a
of that
great
family. Yeah, it really is a great lore.
lore.
So, so it'll be interesting to see kind of where they go and how they evolve.
To think of the passion for that family too, even as names changed and the family members changed and evolved, like you said, they all had different roles of evolving the business. To think about, are there any businesses today that that are multi-generational and everyone appears to be doing well and seems to be happy and enjoying what they're doing and productive? Like it's such an unusual, super fine niche
Yeah.
of a family business that's been handed down for 225 years.
Yeah. I think it gets back to the craft, and the artisan characteristics of distilling. I mean, it's not the same as manufacturing, right? Or some other type of industry where you're just punching out widgets, right? I mean, it's you're digging in, you're trying to figure out how to take a very historically anchored process and come up with new and different flavors and tastes out of it. There's got to be a lot of pride in that from a family perspective too.
Well, there's probably also, I mean, we're hitting it in the heyday of dark liquor and bourbons
Yeah,
and all that. I mean, there was
exactly.
probably some not so fun times when there, it wasn't the go-to. It wasn't, the talk of the town. They obviously had to sell at different times. Four Roses sold to, I think, a Japanese company. These guys have sold off highs and lows. So, I mean, looking at it right now, pretty awesome. I'm sure there was some trials and some tough days and some hard conversations and some not so fun trying to decide, do we stay with what we do? But
yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of those companies we probably don't know about, because I think there's a lot of really cool family-owned businesses out there that have existed for a long time that have a bit of a niche. I mean, I do think of Harley Davidson. Just in my tenure there, like Willie G, still grandson of one of the founding fathers, his son Michael, Bill, like I knew them personally, great grandsons of the founding, like they were still involved in the business, but it was a different kind of business, right? It wasn't family owned anymore. Yeah. But still, you could definitely feel it and sense it, and everybody knew who they were, and they were part of that business no matter what.
Yeah.
Their daughter Karen as well. So I think there are some out there, but I just think it's changed, and maybe this is different too, because it's.
And are they appreciated and treasured because they're a family business, or because they've built a great name? Like I think of LL Bean. LL Bean is still, it is still being run by a family member.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So from the early 1900s.
Yeah. There you go.
But I don't know if I think of it being a family business first, and that sways my decision. But I mean, looking at this lineup here, the amount of world change that's happened. Like you talk about this
Oh,
is
yeah.
pre-Civil War.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Civil War, and then all the wars in between.
Yeah.
Just in militia time, it's like crazy. And then think of all the evolution and expansion of the country and the globalization. Like these guys saw it all.
Well, and then think about what we're going through today.
Yeah.
And going back to the text you sent us, right? From the Spanish flu to, all the different stuff, right? Just
These
again,
guys have seen it.
They've seen
and then
it.
To shut down for 13 years during Prohibition and then to be able to fire it back up and
120 days.
turn it into something is
God, no wonder they
remarkable.
drink.
Sounds exhausting.
All right, what's next?
Next we go to Basil.
Guess basil.
This is something that has been on all of our, like I don't think anyone around the table doesn't like basil.
No, it was. It's funny because it used to be like my go-to. Like, and this is probably early on when I first got introduced to bourbon. And in fact, I wonder if basil. The first time I had basil was what I got from you, Derek. And I think that it just became kind of my staple of like that's the bourbon I like to drink.
Yeah.
But I do think I could have sworn we've talked about this one before because there's a relationship between where the name Basil came from, and he's a grandfather of somebody.
The old granddad, right?
The old granddad, that's right.
Yeah.
That's where it
that the
came from.
connection?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, because that's when that's right. You're exactly right.
Because the grandson then came nowhere near what granddad did.
That's right.
We were like, holy crap. Talking about a swing and a miss.
Womp, womp, womp. Yeah, this was
disappointed.
This was one of the first
Sorry, Pop,
bourbons
Pop.
that I started drinking.
Did you? Okay.
And I don't think I've had it in probably 2 years. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting after all the different things we've tried.
If you spit it out, spit that way.
Yeah.
Now
You're
this
right.
one,
I won't spit it.
this
out.
one does have a different mash bill. This is like the only one in the lineup that has a different mash bill. 63% corn, 27% rye, and 10% malted barley. Comes in at
close.
80 proof, so it's on the softer side.
Yeah.
I think this, for anyone who's getting into bourbon, this tends to be my go-to. Like,
Yep.
hey, I'm intimidated by bourbon. I don't know if I'm gonna what's gonna happen when I
Yeah.
drink it. I've
So are
not
we.
had
I know. Lock the door.
Boy, it's hard to drink this after that Knob Creek 9.
This
well,
is
you just cut the proof in 50%.
Oh, I know.
50%.
That's what I mean. It's just like
Yeah.
it's just like whoa.
But you have to appreciate it for what it is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
it's very smooth.
I get a lot of caramel on the nose.
a lot lighter.
It is
Yeah.
lighter.
Yep.
Yeah, this is not. I mean, to me, Basil Hayden is. I love the bottle of the
Yeah,
presentation.
presentation's great.
It's not one of my favorites.
No?
No. I mean, I certainly. I say I don't like it, but I never buy this.
Yeah.
This is. I don't know. To me, it has almost like a bitter taste. It's not, and I like sweet. I mean,
Yeah.
that's clear. But yeah, it's not like peppery. It just, like I said, it almost is kind of
Yeah.
bittery and a little flat.
Now, I think what could be fun to do is to get the different Basil Haydens that are out there because they have a rye.
We've got a port.
They've got a port, which
Yeah.
I know how that went over last time, but
Not a fan.
yeah, yes, I know.
It was a wet mop, I think.
Yeah, right. It was
Wet
a wet
mop.
mop. You're right.
What a
Thank
good
you,
memory.
Derek. Yeah.
That taste I do remember.
No offense, Jeffersons.
Yeah. Oh, you should be offended.
You should be offended. That's
You
right.
should be second
harder.
guessing.
But it'd be fun to try all of the Basil Haydens lined up, and I'd
We could do
be
that.
interested to try their rye.
It is interesting having not had this in a long time and had a lot of different bourbons in between. I don't like it as much as I used to.
So on the nose,
not bad,
I get
but I
like
just don't like it as much
I get
as
like
I used to.
apple and butter. Get any of that?
Apple
Nah.
butter.
I get caramel.
Could be apple butter. You get caramel on the nose.
I do, yeah.
Caramel. I got caramel.
So, Dave, throw the Knob Creek next to the Basil ones.
Oh yeah, the color's like dramatic.
Look at that. Oh my gosh!
What's the age on the basil?
You better have Elton
Yeah,
read
this,
that.
it's so.
I know.
Yeah.
I should.
I mean, like you said, Dave, we're
80
not, we're
proof.
not snobs, but in comparison to going from a 120 to an 80,
yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost not fair.
yeah.
It's not, but if I was somewhere and that was on the menu, I'd get a Basil.
Oh, it's easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's easy. You know,
Totally.
it's going to be a good drink.
Totally. And a
It's
great
something
gift.
that
Like it's one
yeah.
of the greatest gift
Yep.
bottles I think
Yep.
to give.
Because it's a nice looking bottle.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, they did a good job with it.
I don't see anything on the age.
Yeah.
But I would imagine in keeping with everything that is Beam, I'm going to guess it wouldn't surprise me if it's 4. 4
Would
years.
be my guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels older than a 2, but yeah, it's not been there barrel that long.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not dark enough to have stayed inside that long.
No.
But I do agree on someone that's just starting bourbon. It's a great place to start.
Great.
Well, you're both wrong.
Okay.
Whatever he said.
As Alton continues to drink it.
All right.
Okay.
We got to get rid of it. I need to make room in the glass.
Just like the way you think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I still appreciate it. It wouldn't if I open my cabinet I have one of the miniature Basil Hayden bottles in my cabinet, and it's still sitting there with something in it, and not because I don't like it, but it's just like
It's like an old friend.
it is. I just don't want him to go away.
You just cuddle with that bottle.
I think it's a good bottle to have on hand when you're pouring a Booker's and someone's like, you know what?
I've never had
I'd
bourbon.
like to have, like, you're not
Well,
gonna,
hey,
not
you
gonna
should
start
try
with
Booker's.
Well, I'm not going to pour you a Booker's. However,
One, because it costs too much.
Two, because I don't want to carry you out of here.
You could tell
as
them
soon
to
as you
drink a
lose your
Booker's.
training pants, we can move you on up. But until then, you'll have the Basil Hayden. It is a cool bottle that makes
I
you
met
want
a Basil in real life, which is why maybe that one too has a little bit of special meaning to me.
Okay.
Basil.
Just somebody named Basil, or
Yeah, his
somebody
name
tied
was
to this?
Basil. I can't remember his last name.
So it had
but
nothing
he
to do with
was-
the bourbon. It's just
No. He was from England, and he worked for Austin Reed, and I knew a gentleman who owned a really high end clothing store in Green Bay. He actually he supplied everything to the Packers, all the coaches, their suits to their pants, like everything they wore at the games was all from C.A. Gross. And Basil would come over from England for what they called their trunk showings, and Basil would come with all his fabrics from Austin Reed, and he would sell like $5,000 suits to these guys just by showing them fabric. And
Dang.
yeah, it was cool. And I remember him too. Like he was almost like an aristocrat.
Did he wear an ascot?
No, he didn't. But I mean, he was just such a cool guy, And I was in my teens at the time. I'm like, oh, wow, a guy from England, and his name's Basil. That was cool.
Did he know how to pronounce Brett Favre's last name?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows how to pronounce that.
That's the best.
It should be Favre.
Brett Favre. Is that something about Mary?
All right, how many?
believe so.
How many have we done? We've done 5. We've done 5.
Yeah. We're about to pour our 5th.
Oh,
No, we're about to pour our sixth.
1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah,
There's
no,
2
you're right.
Bookers.
You're right. Sorry.
2 Bookers. We can drink both Bookers.
We can see if they taste different. They'll come from different batches.
Actually, yeah, bring them together, Dave. See what read us.
Are we going to break any kind of rules by doing that?
No. So
crossing the streams. Stand back.
So Derek's bottle, let's see, it's for 6 years, 3 months, and 10 days. Mine actually sat for 6 years, 4 months, and 2 days.
Womp, womp, womp.
A little more alcohol in Derek's than mine.
Sat a little longer.
But what's really interesting, and I don't know if you still have the card from this, is that in the box on the card, they actually tell you what barrels and what warehouse your batch actually came from. Yeah. So if we're going to jump into this,
go for it. Tell us about Bookers.
Well, I'll just start with the batch that we're going to be drinking. So we'll use mine, and is made up of 364 different barrels, produced on a single date and stored in 3 warehouses. 51% came from the 7th floor of a 9-story warehouse H. 5% came from the 3rd floor of a 7-story warehouse P, and 44% came from the 4th level of the 7-story warehouse P. So, they describe the batch as kind of elegant in color, which it really is. I mean, I think the colors are fairly consistent between the 2 that we have. The aroma is sweet with a subtle hint of vanilla that is mingled with brown sugar notes. So the flavor is
the mingling component is very important.
Okay.
Let's mingle it.
What they're saying is that the flavor is sweet at first with a long, smooth finish that warms your palate. So the card that comes with the bottle, it's actually kind of funny. And there's a little story in here, which I'm not going to get into, but it's part of the bottle we're drinking from is part of the 2019 collection. Booker's Batch 2019-03 Country Ham. So
tasting ham.
So it's a note from Fred No, and he said that his dad, Booker No, enjoyed the art of curing and tasting country hams almost as much as he enjoyed his bourbon. It was one of his favorite things. So the story goes on to talk about how his dad really was truly into ham and actually, to some degree, carried one in his trunk all the time with him. So,
bad idea.
But
Love country.
But what they said,
Exactly.
I love that.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
why haven't I thought of that?
well, but you know,
It's like storing a chunk of bacon in your
Yeah.
trunk wherever you go. Why? Who would not want that?
okay. Hello,
Oh, it
are you
smells
listening?
so great.
So he talks
totally
about
distracted me with country.
He
ham.
talks about how his dad had really high standards for the ham, and he liked to keep things simple. His bourbon neat, and his country ham paired only with a cracker or a biscuit. And as you're getting ready for the fall season, take note from Booker, his dad, and try a nice ham alongside a glass of Booker's bourbon. You won't regret it.
If he would have put cheese on that,
Parmesan cheese,
that would have
nonetheless.
been the man's
cheese.
life
Yeah.
would have changed.
But that's
You know how I like country ham.
Game
yeah,
with
but that's
grits.
it's kind
grits?
of
Grits.
it's kind of
Yeah.
cool because it's a note
Biscuit's
from.
not bad either.
All right, are you even listening? For God's sakes, why am I here?
Because you brought up country ham. Okay,
Seriously.
did you really expect
Where's
us
your
to stay
sister,
on track?
man? We need her to call in. I want a lifeline.
What's her name?
All right. It's not Amber.
It is not Amber.
Anyway, it's from Fred No, and he's actually 7th generation master distiller. So going back to your story about just the history of the family, and if you think about how far back that goes, so I think that's pretty cool. So it's a small batch, obviously produced by Jim Beam. We talked a little bit about the Beam Centauri kind of shift in ownership. It is the highest alcohol content of any Jim Beam small batch. So anything else we've tasted tonight, this has the highest alcohol content to it.
It's
Yeah, like 600?
It's 120, 125, I think.
It's like
I think it's
slap your
126.
grandma strong.
I think it's 126 and a half, actually, yeah.
Well, which bottle are you looking at?
They're both.
Both.
But they're not all the same. So it can range anywhere between 121 and 130. So it's
This
cask
one is
strength.
124.7.
Oh, you got the lighter one. Sorry.
So it's a cask
We should
strength.
have Derek.
Jesus,
Just 126
what in
and a
the
half.
hell?
Kurt, would
Okay,
you...
why don't you take my notes and read them?
You want me to? I
Because
can.
obviously
Try.
you probably can't read my writing anyway.
Can't read your
so
text.
it's-
Why would you think I can read your writing?
That's intentional. It's cask strength. It's aged anywhere between 6 and 8 years. And that's where, going back to the mash bill, even with the same mash bill, depending on how long it's aged, will drive what it tastes like as well as what the alcohol content will be. It's uncut, and there's no chill filtering at any natural proof. So, and that's where they talk about the variance in the proof, which is anywhere between 121 and 130. So,
130.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's
They
hot.
do describe it as putting hair on your chest. So
That's
this
hot.
is not one
Melt
for the
it
weak
off.
at heart. To your point, Dave, it's not one that I'd give to somebody who's tasting bourbon for the first time.
Nope.
No.
Training pants.
So it began as the bottling process was selected by Jim Beam's grandson Booker No. So he would actually go to his favorite barrels and pick from those barrels and create the mix. It was bottled straight from the barrel for only close friends and families to start. So Booker's was kind of a thing before they actually went to the consumer. So that's how it actually got started. Booker No would actually pull his favorite from his favorite barrels, and he would bottle that up himself personally and give it to only family and friends.
Sounds like Blanton's.
They launched.
Originally.
They launched very small releases of about 1,000 cases in 1988. So based on this idea of collection, I'm going to guess that Booker's was probably the first in line before that idea of small batch collection came to be. Each barrel is personally selected by Booker and aged in the center of the ratchet house, where they say that the temperature and humidity are the best, work the best.
What do they call that, the honey spot or something like that? Each warehouse has a like a sweet spot.
I'll buy that.
I thought you said that during conviction.
I think you're right, but I'm afraid to talk.
He's not talking now, so you can talk.
You're going to get the stick guy.
Yeah. I think there was a thing, a conviction. There was the question there, though. It's interesting, and obviously they don't have the tenure with it. But remember, they talked about getting more flavor profiles by the walls, where the sun was in and out. So this is the center of the warehouse where the heat may fluctuate differently. But that's interesting.
Yeah. So, and while it is uncut, Book or No always use a little splash of distilled water to release some of the flavor. So, what's behind the distilled water, not really sure, but he would do that just to release some of the flavor, which I think if as you go and you taste bourbon, right, you do the first taste and then you do just like a drop of water in it and that releases and then you try it again. So, it's obviously a very highly regarded bourbon. In 2016, Beam Suntory announced that they were doing a reduction in new batch releases and that there was going to be a large increase in price. So originally, this bottle that we're looking at today retailed at about $59.99. They announced a 66% increase for the following year. And there was so much like backlash from it that they came back and kind of backed away from that and said, okay, we're going to still do it, but we're going to do it over a period of a number of years. So ultimately, instead of going to $99, which this pretty much retails at, I think now per bottle, it fluctuates.
80s,
high 80s up to, you
90s.
can sometimes up in the 120 range. But yeah, I think in the high 80s, $90 a bottle. But it started out at $59.99, and then over time, since 2017, they've moved it up, and then they're producing less. So, the mash bill,
Same.
What's interesting though is that the mash bill, the Booker's Rye, it says unknown, so I couldn't find it for the Booker Rye.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% barley. And it's roughly 125 proof on average, but again, it ranges anywhere between 121 to 130.
I wish I kept the card for mine that we could have.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Side.
Yeah,
I don't know if I noticed it in there, but
it kind of sits behind the bottle in the box. So, so I guess, what do you guys taste? What do you guys smell? What do you get on the nose? First of all,
Cherry. I do.
Do you really?
Yeah,
I agree. I agree with that.
yeah, I'm in that
I
dried
agree
fruit.
with him.
It hurts me too, Kurt.
yeah.
I dropped a little water in mine.
Holy crap!
Oh, it's strong.
Oh, it's good.
It is
strong.
good.
It is good.
But it's not just strong straight alcohol. It's like
Strong flavor.
full kick ass
Yeah.
flavor.
Oh, it is totally.
Yeah.
The middle,
Start to finish.
the middle of my tongue like curls.
Yeah.
Like it's so flavorful and so strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. But it warms you.
Yeah, as you say, by the fire, a good 2-finger pour of this would last
That's
for
about-
a while, and
Yeah.
just
You'd watch the coals go out.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
one of those fires where
If you're still awake.
I'm not saying that.
I know
Wake
it's
up when you're
lace.
cold.
No, it's good. So I got to do a call out to my bud Scott because he gave this to me as a gift, and it's the first night I cracked it open. So
There you go.
Which is a good note. Like Booker's as a gift to someone who knows bourbon.
yeah,
Oh yeah, can't go
is
wrong.
a nice touch.
yep, it really is.
My bottle was a gift from Daniel Coleman and his crew and their YouTube channel. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool.
but it was something where when I got it, I was like, oh, these guys know. Like that
Yeah.
is a nice gesture. It's something where you if you know someone knows bourbon, I don't know if you would turn your nose up at that one.
No way.
There's one of these wrapped up every Christmas under a tree for Sarah.
Nice.
And always keep the boxes because the box is really cool.
The
boxes are cool.
boxes are really cool,
Yeah.
and it's funny because I never noticed what's on the back.
Country ham.
It's not a country ham.
I'm
No,
curious to learn more about country ham.
Derek is a
You've
whole
never
new
had a
world
country
out there.
ham?
I don't know.
We could
have
start a
ham.
whole- we could
I don't
start
know
a
if I
whole
know
no-
the difference.
Ooh,
well,
Derek.
there's
Let's
Book or
talk.
No. That's Booker No on the back, I'm guessing. Yeah, really cool box. Just the presentation alone is pretty slick, I have to say.
So question, so we don't know the mash bill here, but we know everything. Most of the others put Basil Hayden aside, 75, 13, 12, right?
Yep. That's the same for Booker's.
Oh, they said the rye was unknown.
Booker's rye. This isn't a rye.
I'm sorry. You said the Booker's rye was unknown.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, we were talking amongst ourselves, so I didn't hear that part.
No, you weren't listening is what you were
Country
doing.
ham in the trunk.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to find the guy. Did the guy not have cheese, or did he?
Different episode.
He had country ham and biscuits. It's all the
I know. It's like 98% of the way
Still a
there.
strong start.
So they are all the same mash bill again, except for Basil. So, and this is age 6 years. This is 9 years. So do you think the whole way this works is they barrel it after 2 years, 3 years, where they start tasting and then they're starting to segregate and say, hey, this is feeling like the flavor profile of.
That's a very good question.
How does that play out? Because they're all.
So you're asking, like, does it go into the barrel as Knob Creek and as Booker, or does it go in as a beam product?
Right.
And then as the flavor or warehouse.
Yeah,
goes. That's interesting.
Because as we talked to
find that out.
Macaulay and Vienna and others on the crafter space, they're shooting for a flavor profile more so than a mash bill and repeatable flavor out of it. So anyway,
if you listen to Kurt when he was reading that card and it talked about the different areas of the warehouse where the Bookers came from, it leads you to believe that somebody's in there tasting it, saying, is this a Booker's or is this a Knob Creek?
If you go back to the history of Booker's and how it started, right? Mm-hmm. He selected from very specific barrels, and I'm going to guess that's probably I'm guessing, like, don't know, but like that they still maintain that very similar tradition. So my guess would be that they are pulling from very specific barrels in a very specific location within those warehouses in order to make
the honey spots.
Yeah. Mm. But I think what's interesting about Booker's is that it sits between 6 and 8 years. So it'd be fun to get a bottle that actually is closer to the 8-year mark to see what. Yeah, exactly. That's probably closer to your 130.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Right. But because both of these, this one's about 6.5. Yours is just over 6.5.
But the price doesn't change.
No,
I mean,
I don't think so. No.
Presumably, it's anything between 6 and 8.
Yep.
It's just the rarity of the 8s. Probably they're probably more sought after.
Yeah, but like Knob Creek 9 is 9 years, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
presumably,
I don't know if the 8-year would taste different than the 6. So going with your theory of they're tasting on a regular basis to hit a flavor profile. If it takes 6 years to get there, or it takes 8 years, it's the same flavor profile.
That's true. Right? So it might be just the alcohol content or the proof that varies
where
it
was sitting in the warehouse. I may not have gotten the same experience as other barrels, and it's just not there yet.
But if they're looking for, like, I want a Booker's taste, and it's kind of a narrowed in taste, I think they're saying 6 to 8 because it could take that long for an 8-year to get up to that taste. Otherwise, you'd have a pretty big range. From, That's just my theory.
God, you're so smart.
5 glasses in.
No, but that makes sense. So even if they're pulling from different barrels, they're letting it sit longer in order to get to that profile.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
Yes. When the taster hits the profile and they're like, "That's what I want."
Yeah.
Then they're out. Yeah. It's a good lineup.
Dave has just made his decision.
Yeah. It's like the dog show.
The Springer Spaniel, please bring forward.
That's hilarious.
Is that what you're up to here, young man? Is this your lineup?
Yeah, I'll throw my lineup out there, and then you guys can tell me if y'all disagree. I thought the Jim Beam Black was again relatively flat.
Yeah, good mixer.
Good mixer. Yeah. Again, I've got a little bit of hidden passion for Basil, just knowing that was one of the first bourbons that really kind of got me started in this. I think it's a great kind of gateway bourbon, if you will. But having tried a bunch of bourbons since the last time I had Basil Hayden, I can definitely say that it's probably not something I'm going to go back to, but I do appreciate Basil for what it is. Old Tub, frankly, I was for a $22 bottle. That's a really good bourbon.
I would grab
really good bourbon.
Where did you find that?
That was ABC and Williamson.
Yeah, I would totally grab one of those if I saw it.
I may not drink it straight or neat, Kurt, like most men do. But I may.
I just want you to notice there is no ice in my Bookers.
Okay, good.
And it's not because it's melted.
Okay, that's good. But I think it could also be a really good, bourbon for an old fashioned or something where you're still going to get that flavor out. The Knob Creek 9, really, really impressed. Like I almost, got a lot of flavor there. And after a couple of sips, I kind of felt like I'd gotten Novocaine. Anyways, and then Booker's, again, one of my favorites, period. It's definitely high on the proof, but high on the flavor, not high on the alcohol taste.
Yeah.
But just overall, just a wonderful bourbon. So that's kind of my...
Sadly, I got to agree with you all around. I think here, Booker's to me is like, it should be at the end because it's exactly what you expect. Not that anytime you buy an expensive bourbon, it's going to be good, but I think just in the Beam lineup, like, I would say all of these tasted good. The Black Label, not so much, but you have to agree, like, they all tasted pretty decent. The Knob Creek, I would say, is, probably from what I've heard from you guys. I've had a couple bottles of it before in my cabinet. To me, that's the biggest surprise. Like, you don't expect that from that when you first see it. I think a lot because
it's hard to think of it as a craft. Like small.
Like you said, it's just so commercial.
Yeah.
I actually really liked the Old Tub, and I just think it's such a great name too. Like, to pull that out, right? If somebody's at your house and you're like, "How about a glass of Old Tub?" and they're like,
more to it,
right? Actually, you need a bottle of that all the time by your Old Tubs.
There you go.
Like, shit, you need a bottle of that.
I like that. I may have to hit Williamson tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Old Tub and a couple of Cialis tabs.
Cialis tubs.
Nothing but a good time in Mooresville.
I may need to go on the record here.
Just honk when you hit the driveway for everybody's safety.
Everyone's
sure
safety.
the saloon doors are closed.
That's right.
Listen, I love Basil Hayden's. I think it's a great bourbon. I don't disagree with what Dave's saying, but I think it's always a good one to have in the cabinet as well. And it is a great gift. I think it's just packaged up really nice, but it has a nice smooth taste to it. It's easy. So I think even for somebody who's trying it for the first, maybe second time, I think it's a great bourbon. So
it's the training pans.
Black Label, I got nothing. I just didn't care for the Black Label.
No,
not that it's a bad one, but I just didn't care for it.
I think it's a mixer. I wanted more from it. And I was looking at the White Label going, I think we've all had that at one point. It's just, it's bourbon. Yeah. It's not
It's
remarkable.
a mixer. Yeah.
But I think the Black's a mixer too.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Altoon.
Oh, you guys nailed it. I would leave the. I would put the from shortest to tallest in preference. I would flip the Basil in front of the Jim Beam Black. Yeah, down and back. But other than that, I think the on the high end of this, and actually I would leave a little gap here between the two.
I agree,
because this is where my purchases would stop. The Basil or the Jim Beam Black would not be in my cart. But Old Tub, awesome,
good surprise.
Great surprise.
And it's just, we've talked about. I can't remember what we were tasting when we talked about the Old Tub name. It came out once before, and it's like, oh, that's really cool. How that's what they started with. They lost it, and they got it back.
Yep.
So to see it kind of show up on a label, it's a classic label.
Yeah.
This would be an awesome one to have just for the lore, telling the story about.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know that this was
started
what it
with
was?
This. Yeah. And then it became this.
So that's cool. $22 can't beat. I'm gonna go tomorrow. So race you guys to the liquor store. And then
why don't you just buy the remaining 3 bottles?
Yeah, and then,
I'll Venmo
then we can Venmo
because we can Venmo you.
You can Venmo me now. Yes, I have caught up for all those who were worried about the birds and their treatment.
We don't do
the pigeons have been
we
released.
don't do Venmo anymore. There's a new one.
Oh my god!
And Zelle. We use Zelle.
I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Natalie, for giving out and the permission.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And then, of course, the Knob Creek pleasant surprise. I've never had that. That was good. Yep. Booker's, second time I've had Booker's. This time, I guess, again, it's probably been a year and a half since I had it. Much more appreciation for the taste, the flavor. Yep. So way up, top 3, easy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing at the Venmo thing because I'm like, I got to Venmo Sam the money we owe out. And she's like, wait a second. I'm like,
Yeah, Sam and bourbon money.
Well, I was telling Kurt, I don't take any money out of Venmo anymore because I just give it back to one of the three you
It's
guys.
just always recirculating. It's the same money.
I always transfer because it feels good.
I'm in the same lineup. I like the way Alden described it, which is my personal cart and shelf is going to start at Old Tub, go up from there. I was looking at Baker's. Baker's was like $60 a bottle.
Yep.
Wasn't quite ready for that one this week, but when Old Tub showed up, it was kind of a little serendipitous. And I was thinking, I just did all this research on it. Let's give it a shot.
I think it's great.
We've made worse decisions with $22,
and we'll continue to do so.
Ezra Brooks.
Listen, the old granddad for $9.95 was a bad decision.
All right, so last call. You're heading to the cabin, the treehouse, the cabin.
Who am I going with?
In your trunk, you have a country ham.
Yeah.
And you can have biscuits, grits, cheese, whatever you want with it.
Good Lord, what a weekend.
But you can only bring one bottle of this lineup of 5 for the weekend. What are you bringing? Krat.
Am I drinking by myself?
Yeah,
It's just you
I
and
want to know
country
who
ham.
I'm going.
Huh?
It's just you and a country ham.
Just me and a country ham.
I'm taking the bottle that literally has a picture of a country ham.
Exactly.
So you got Booker's.
Sounds like
Bookers
a-
all day long.
Sounds like a bad
All right.
country music
And
song.
honestly, when Kurt was reading that, I could totally see where country ham. Dude, we've got to get you on country ham.
Give it a shot.
But
We're gonna have it when we go away for the
do it.
weekend.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Totally. I mean,
Okay.
I can totally see where country ham and that bourbon would be like, oh yeah, because it's the salt and the sweetness and oh yum.
Okay.
Brown sugar.
Alton?
Slam dunk, Booker's.
Okay.
I'm in love. So
But,
I'm
but
gonna,
Alan's going to require a little bit of cheese to go with.
Hey, listen, I'm flexible. I could go without cheese if I have to, but
Oh shit! That's what I forgot. Were the cheese curds? I brought cheese curds home.
Oh, that's right.
see.
Yeah.
Oh hey there.
Hey, Derry.
Oh hey there. Oh.
So Booker's,
right.
Booker's for me. Kurtron?
Well, I can't answer the same.
You can.
No, I can't.
Kurt, answer from your heart.
No, I've agreed too much with
Oh,
you
dear
tonight.
God.
No, but I mean,
Doesn't feel right.
No, listen.
The world would be in balance.
I think the Booker's is great, but I will tell you that like going back again, like I was so surprised by the Knob Creek 9-year when I had it the first time.
it's
Like
good.
I could totally see grabbing a bottle of that and taking that. I just thought I thought it was really good.
Okay.
I'd probably sneak a bottle of the
Okay.
Old Tub in too.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's going to be the name of this podcast. Okay.
All right,
Derek says, okay.
I'm gonna go Old Tub only because it's such a surprise. It's the newest
Exactly.
one on
I
this
love
list.
that.
I kind of want to spend a
love
weekend
that.
with it and just be like, that was the weekend
Okay.
I killed a bottle of Old Tub
we're gonna-
and a 10-pound.
So my fear with Old Tub is like I'm enamored with the packaging and the story.
This is the morning after you're worried about.
I'm worried about the second glass.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this was good, and then like the next time it's like, well, that's not as good as I remember.
Well, I want Derek to answer that question after he's had a full on Smithfield country ham, and he's going to go with Booker's. I guarantee it.
Just remember, we got a good old bottle of bourbon sitting in my house that needs to be drunk.
Is that the beach? Is that the beach bottle where we're going to get?
Well, it's the bottle.
It's the 10-year, all right?
It's the 10-year Clyde Mays.
Clyde Mays.
Clyde.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
All
Let's
right.
do it. Well, boys, thanks for another great episode. We tasted 5 tonight: Jim Beam Black, Basil Hayden, Old Tub, Knob Creek 9, and Booker's. Lots of great conversation, lots of great tastes, mostly from the same mash bill. But thanks again. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to our series and hit the notification button so you get the updates when we drop another episode. Leave us a rating, give us a feedback so we can make these better for you. We're going to do these whether you like them a lot or not. But, be nice if we made them better for you.
But it really doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. We're doing them anyways. If you want to learn more about tonight's bourbon, visit our website, bourbonon.com. We can also order Bourbon Boys merch. Gentlemen, looks like we're at the end of another great episode. Really enjoy spending the time with you on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Together sampling bourbon. Bourbon on.
Bourbon on.
Bourbon on, Jim.